glasses on for this. Hey, welcome back. Simon Lee's here. I'm kind of bent over a piece that I'm working on in the on the bench, as it were. Now, it's not really a bench; it's just like a chair and a stool with a rug on it. But either way, this is the bench that I'm working on today. The piece in question is my Slash signature Les Paul, and tomorrow I'm going to be taking this to my friend Matt Pinfield's house. Matt is basically, he's kind of become my YouTube mentor. I did a video at his place for his channel, which is called The Pinfields, about a year ago, and I had a lot of fun. You know, it was I thought it was you know, it was a good day. So tomorrow the idea is I'm going to be taking my Slash Les Paul around to his place. Matt himself has just bought himself a Les Paul, which is not his normal kind of guitar, you know, but he's getting to grips with it. He's getting on with it really well, and he's getting some really good sounds out of it. So the idea is what we're going to film tomorrow is just see how the two Les Pauls kind of compare with each other, and have a bit of a jam session as well, which would be fun. I've made a kind of head start on this. I've taken 3 of the strings off. I never take all the strings off in one go, because years ago I did that on a guitar, and when I came to put the strings back on it, it didn't settle down to its original position. So it's all right, I'm just going to do a bit of polishing while we go, because what I've done is I've prepped the fingerboard using some Dunlop 01 fingerboard prep. It's like cleans all the stuff off it, ready for you to use. Jim Dunlop 02, which is the conditioner. So stage 1 is already well underway. So I've saved you the the inconvenience of having to sit through that. But yeah, back to the story of why I don't take all the strings off. I mean, there's one. If you're a Les Paul owner, you'll know about this. If you take all the strings off and you don't pay attention, the bridge and the tailpiece fall off, which is most inconvenient, especially if they fall off and end up damaging the paintwork. You know, that would spoil your whole day, you know. So yeah, I don't do that anymore. I've got the 2 E strings and the D string in place, and that gives me plenty of room to clean round them. You know, people say, oh, I want to take all the strings off so I can clean, you know, give it a proper clean. Well, you can give it a proper clean if you've got a big enough gap in between the strings. But I say, what happened to me was I'd got a Charvel Model 3. It was a Japanese one from 1988. It had the Charvel. No, it was the Jackson licensed Floyd Rose, which wasn't a brilliant machine, but anyway, it was a beautiful looking guitar. Got stolen in the end. But before that happened, I took all the strings off, and when I put them back on again, the neck did not come back to its original position. Now, that wasn't a cheap, crappy guitar, you know. That was like a good, well-made guitar. So ever since then, I've always left at least 2 strings on, and I say in this case I've got 3, because I don't want anything to change. I want to be able to put the new strings on and for it to be exactly the same feeling guitar as it was when I kind of took the strings off, you know. So I'm giving it a good clean, because obviously, you know, I don't want to go to Matt's and with a scruffy looking guitar. I say I don't play this one very much, but when I do play it, it's a bit like, why don't I play this all the time, you know, because it's an absolute treat. So I'm going to show you how I put the strings on And I'll say I'll obviously show you me taking the remaining 3 strings off. Now that's going to be a trick, just to see if I can make sure I put the right strings in the right place, because today I'm using, now where have I put them? I'm using D'Addario, pack of D'Addario strings. Now the thing with D'Addario strings, they don't come with individual string packets. Instead they have coloured ball ends, so you have to sort of know what coloured ball end relates to. You know, if I do it with the Allen camera. Now these two are the fat E string and the A string. And I remember the A string, because I used to use these back in the day. The A string has got a red ball end, and the fat E string has got the gold one, like the standard sort of colour. So I'm going to untangle those, and I've got to thank my friend Mick, who bought these from a visit to his son's place, I believe, in Dubai, where you can get strings quite cheaply, which is awesome, you know. So I'll put the old glasses on for this. Oops, a daisy, what's that? Okay, one of my lenses has fallen out, but okay, I don't think I need that. It's great, it's all happening today. Okay, just making sure Alan's got a good view of this, because you don't want to miss this. This is going to be exciting. So, I'll push the string through the hole. Now I like to leave, I don't know, I mean, I've said on previous videos, I usually leave about 2 fingers worth of a gap between the fretboard and the string. This is an idea of how much slack I want, so I've got enough to wind around the post. I don't want loads going around the post, but that should be sufficient, I think. So I've got my trusty D'Addario string winder cutter. I'm going to tighten that up now, just so that the holes are 90 degrees to where I want the string to be. So in other words, the holes are lining up with the frets, parallel to the frets. So this is the bit where you can stop your strings going out of tune, okay, even if you've got a cheap guitar. So I'm going to pull the string tight that way, use my thumb to kink the string, bend it round the post. The idea is you're trying to keep it as tight as possible around the post. I then thread it underneath itself, and this would be much easier if I had 2 lenses in my glasses, but unfortunately one of them's just fallen out. That's the trouble. Now, cheap glasses you can have a problem with. Okay, so I'm pulling it tight with this hand, and I'm also pulling it tight with the hand that's closer to the guitar body. The last part of this is I've got my thumb right underneath the loose end, and I'm going to bend it, keeping it as tight as I can to the post. Just bend it over itself, and it forms a lock. Now, there is no way on earth that string can possibly slip or go out of tune, no matter how cheap your guitar is, you know. So if you're one of these people that says, "Oh, this guitar's only cheap; it doesn't stay in tune very well," put your strings on properly, and they will stay in tune. Now, I know the majority of people don't put strings on like this, and that's why we end up with old wives' tales, such as the price of your guitar is directly proportional to how well it stays in tune. Okay, right, now I've done that one, and I've got the E string one available to put on. I'm going to do that one next, so I'm going to take off the E string that's on there. I normally just cut these in half, no point in keeping them really. Now this is, some guitar techs, you know, they moan about people who put the strings on like me, make their life difficult because it's really difficult to untie the string from the tuning post. Well, we'll see how difficult it is. Just line that up a bit better. That's it. So you can see it's really not very difficult unless you're absolutely ham-fisted and a bit simple. So after watching this video, you will be none of those things. Right, so take the other end out. So I'll get the fresh string, slide it through the tailpiece over the bridge, make sure it sits in the groove. I will do a demo of this guitar as well, because it has got a feature which is pretty unique. There's not many guitars have got this. It's something that Slash specified as what he wanted on this particular iteration of his signature model. Now notice on this string, this is the fat E string. I'm pulling it tight. I haven't got any slack on there at all. So I'm going to turn the machine so that the holes in the post are in line with the frets. I'm going to form a kink around the post, keeping the end of the string tight, passing underneath itself, pull it through, and we're nearly there. Okay, make sure that's tight. You don't want any gaps, you know, so you've got to give it some welly. I'm going to put my finger on there so that I can bend the string over itself. Notice when I let it go, it didn't spring back. If it does, you haven't kinked it firmly enough, so you've really got to show the strings who's boss. About a quarter of a turn and it's in tune. Hey presto. On the thinner strings, I do like to have more windings on, because if you don't, you find that the corner of the hole where the string goes through in the post, it can chafe on the strings. So to sort of avoid that, then I would put an extra winding or an extra couple of windings compared to what I do on the fatter strings. The fatter strings can kind of take care of themselves up to a point. It's not a big issue. So these ones have been a bit willful. These D'Addario middle strings. Might have to fast forward through this, I don't know. Okay, so it looks like these days anyway, D'Addario pair their strings up. So you get the fat E string with the A string, and then you get the D string together with the G string, and presumably we'll have the B string with the thin E string. I'm guessing that's how it's going to pan out. So, okay, this is the Leonardo DiCaprio string, the G string. So I'm going to feed that through the bridge. I remember this one because on the D'Addario sets, it's green at the end. So we've got a green ball end. Green for G. Genius. So make sure that's gone into the thing. Now I noticed, blimey, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, but these strings are actually a little bit tarnished. So I don't know if the Dubai atmosphere has caused that, or they've just been sitting in the shop for a long time. I can't imagine that, but hey, who knows? Right, so I say, to avoid this chafing issue, I'm going to have a little bit more slackness on the string. So I've probably got maybe 3 fingers on the G string. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? Okay, where's my string winder? Here it is. Cool. Obviously, you've always got to remember that when you're putting strings on, don't matter if it's a bass guitar or anything, you want the straightest possible line as the string goes from the fretboard end to the tuning post. So that means, and I've just had an awful realisation that I haven't used Dunlop number 2. Now, that is a crime. I should be flogged and punished severely. So before I continue with the G string, because if I can take that off now, and that will afford me a little bit of a gap so that I can get some Dunlop 02 in that space. This is now. Let me read the instructions for Dunlop 02. Cool. Fingerboard 02 deep conditioner, not for use on lacquered and finished fretboards. No problem. So invert bottle but do not squeeze. Now, it hasn't said anything about shaking the bottle. Should I shake it? What do you think? I'm going to shake it. Sounds like it probably needs shaking. Okay, press pad repeatedly against the fretboard for the oil to flow. That's what we want. We want the oil to flow. Do not squeeze the bottle, it says, apparently. So I'm going to do what it says. I'm going to press the pad repeatedly. Oh. Now, you know what? While we're here, now the D string, I haven't replaced yet. That's one of the next ones I've got to do. So just to give me a little bit more space to work, I'm going to take that D string off, and then if you're ready, we'll just show the tech experts that that's dead easy to get out, not a problem at all. I was shown this stringing method by a guy called Mick Brooks, who was one of the guys who ran my local music shop in Wolverhampton back in the day. And right, see, I've got loads of room to work now. I can press this as repeatedly as I want, and I'm doing it. It says do not squeeze the bottle, so I'm not squeezing it, but I am pressing repeatedly. Yeah, what happened was, in about 1985, I'd been playing for a few years, but stringing the guitar I was struggling with. Some strings I'd get on fairly neatly without much of an issue, but some of the strings, they look like a car crash. You know, it was kind of like all the windings were on top of each other, and it was just a real mess. Now, I don't know if it's a bad thing if the oil gets on top of the strings or not, but I have got some string cleaner that I can use to hopefully get rid of that. So yeah, I have screwed up, I'll admit. But it happens sometimes. I'm not perfect. So I've done what it said. I've pressed repeatedly, and I'm just gonna, now the oil's actually on the fingerboard, I'm just gonna kind of rub this around a bit, just spread it about a bit, and hopefully that'll just sink in. Cool. I think that's covered it. Just get a bit more underneath the thin E string as well. Now you might say, well, this is why I take my strings off. Well, I mean, this, you know, do you. But I would prefer a little bit of aggro when it comes to you know, cleaning the fretboard and putting new strings on, compared with having to reset the truss rod and all that sort of stuff, which is like madness. So yeah, I'm just going to see if it says anything about rubbing that in. Apply oil generously onto the fretboard. Wait 15 minutes for the oil to fully penetrate wood. Then wipe away the excess with a clean dry cloth. Okay, so I'm going to have to sort of give this a little bit, and yeah, so I'll carry on telling you this story about how I found this method of putting strings on. So I went to One Way Music. I said to Mick, how do you put strings on? I just asked him, and he was generous enough to show me, you know. So it's what I like about it, and the same Mick, as well as being a guitarist, he was in a successful band in the 60s, you know. He was an engineer, and my family, well, my dad's family were engineers, and something I had a dabble at it when I left school. So he understood that, you know, yes, there may be ways you can put strings on where they might not slip out of tune, but if you can find a way where they definitely 100% won't slip out of tune, isn't it better to use that method? You know, I think it's not something you have to think about a great deal. And it was funny. Matt put a video on his page recently when he got this Les Paul Deluxe, where he went to Andy Neville's guitar workshop, and Andy Neville was also one of the guys that worked on One Way, and Mick trained Andy to set guitars up, and Andy puts the strings on exactly the same way. So, you know, Andy knows what he's doing. You know, he's been doing this for a long time. So again, I say, if you've got a choice of putting strings on in such a way that, yeah, they'll probably be all right, or yeah, they are going to 100% stay in tune, you choose the 100%, wouldn't you? You know, it's yeah, crazy, but people get really angry about it. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. So let me tell you a bit about how I got this Slash signature Les Paul. I used to teach a guy called Tony who lived in Swindon. Now I'm based in Wolverhampton. There is a place called Swindon not far from here, but that's not the Swindon that he came from. He came from right down south by the M4 corridor, you know, the south of England sort of thing. So it took him 2 hours to drive up here. He was a fan of Budgie, my old band that I was in at the time, and he used to come up here once a fortnight for I don't know if he had 2 hours. Might have been a 2-hour guitar lesson. That would have made sense. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm guessing that's probably how it went. And I happened to mention to him that I was thinking about getting a Les Paul. I'd had a Les Paul in the 90s. It was a Les Paul Studio. Wasn't particularly impressed with it. Wasn't very well made, I didn't think. But so I got rid of it. But then I started thinking, I don't know, you know, maybe I should get another one, but get a proper one, you know. So he says, I've got 3. He says, which one do you fancy? He says, I've got a Zakk Wylde signature, I've got a standard, and I've got a Slash signature. And I was like, this was about 2005. So it was like, Now I'd seen his Zakk Wylde signature, and the one he'd got was the camo one. So it was like black and green finish, and it had a maple fingerboard, which I didn't really like. I wasn't over keen on the neck as well. The neck was enormous. It was like a cricket bat, you know. It was a massive thing. It was. So, good guitar. It also had EMG pickups, which I've never liked. They've never worked for me, you know. So, and I thought, well, yeah, you know what? I'll have a look at the Slash. He says you can borrow it. He says you can do a gig with it. You know, see how you get on, and if you like it, you know, you can have it off me. So I did that. I did a gig with it, and I said, yeah, man, it's brilliant. I love it. So we did the deal, and I've had it ever since. So I used it with Budgie on the 2005 tour. That's the only tour that I used it for, because I found it incredibly stressful taking such a valuable guitar on the road, where we hadn't got any road crew. It was, and there was situations where I remember one time it was actually a gig in Swindon. We did a gig at a place called the Furnace, and there was about two other bands on, maybe. I think we were headlining, but I think there was a couple of other bands. So there was a lot of gear flying about. And I know at the end of our set, I was, packing my stuff away. This guitar was in its case right by the door to the outside, which was wide open, and there was nothing I could do about it. I'd kind of got... I'd got to pack my other, like the rest of my gear away, and I got this, and it was like I couldn't have been in two places at the same time. So that was really stressful. I mean, I've still got it. Obviously, nothing bad happened, but it's like when you've had guitars stolen before, then it does kind of you definitely don't want to have that feeling again, So. What's special about this guitar? And I'll say once I've got it restrung, I'll demo this. It's got a Fishman power bridge, and what that is, on the bridge, which is looks like a standard tune-o-matic Gibson bridge, each saddle is actually a pickup, and it's a piezo pickup. So you do get a pretty cool acoustic simulation, if you like. It sounds kind of like an acoustic guitar. When Slash commissioned this, he was in Velvet Revolver at the time, and one of their big songs was Full to Pieces, and he used when he played live anyway, he used the acoustic bridge pickups to play like the acoustic part of that song, and it worked really well. When I was in Budgie, and I used this for the 2005 tour, we did a song called Rolling Home Again, which was it was almost like a bit of a, I don't know if you call it skiffle or some sort of country and western type of thing, but on the record anyway, it used an acoustic guitar, and I really like this song, so I kind of pushed for us to do it just as a bit of a novelty thing, just to break up the set. So it was cool to sort of use the acoustic sounds for that song. Obviously, going through the clean channel and the Marshall, it wasn't exactly like playing through an acoustic amp or plugging it directly into the PA, which would have given it more of an acoustic sound, but it worked pretty well, and it was just nice to be able to do. But I say, after the 2005 tour, I left it at home, and I took a much cheaper guitar on the road, which was great. It was so kind of liberating. Or something I also should say about this, the Fishman power bridge that I just talked about isn't the original one that came on the guitar. I've still got that, but it broke, and the reason it broke is because we played a gig in Edinburgh on that tour, a place called Bannerman's, and even though it was, I don't know if it was September, it wasn't like the peak of summer anyway. It was definitely like later on in the year. It was a sweatbox. Both me and Burke were drenched, and because I was sweating so much, even wearing sweatbands, I shorted out that pickup on the bridge, and there's actually a bootleg recording that I'm sure if you, I don't know if you've got to go on the dark web or whatever, but there is a bootleg that exists of that gig. and you can hear, it was right at the end of the gig where we're doing Bread Fan, and you can hear the guitar cutting in and out because the piezo pickups are integral to the whole circuitry of this guitar. So if they shorted out, even the normal pickups wouldn't work, because they're all connected to a preamp. So that was a bit of an issue. So I'm playing Bread Fan and I can hear it going. So I'm having to sort of whack the strings really hard to sort of try and get this bridge to sort of come back to life, you know. And luckily it got me through the gig. The following week, I don't know what happened. I didn't have time to test it, but I thought, my thinking was, well, it got me through the gig, so chances are it's probably okay. And it was dead. It was absolutely dead. So we got to, it was the Road Mender in Northampton was the following gig. We had I'd got another guitar, so it wasn't like a big deal, you know, but it was just one of these where I was thinking, I better not break a string on this guitar, you know, so I didn't. It was all good. But we had a support band with us for that section of the tour. They were from Scotland. They're called RAAR, RAAR, and their guitarist said that if I had a problem, I could use his Strat. This was a bit like the Top Gear challenge, you know, when they have like 3 cars, and if one of them breaks down, they have to go in the Beetle. You know, that was like in my rear view mirror, you know, this Strat that it would have at least helped me to get through the gig if I'd have needed it. But luckily I didn't need it, so you know. But really nice of the lads to offer me that. So that was yeah. So yeah, let's see. Has it been 15 minutes yet? I'm not sure. So I'm just looking at the fretboard. I don't know if I've drowned it, but it's still pretty oily. You know what? I might just start giving that a little rub down using my Dunlop polishing cloth. You can see that. So this is obviously what came with the two pots, the 01 and the 02. So yeah, I will start just wiping the excess fretboard conditioner off the fingerboard. Once I've done this, I will wax some strings on and I will give you a demo, just so you can kind of hear what it sounds like. This is like watching paint dry, isn't it? If you're still with me, I don't know what to say. You know, thank you. Okay. So when I polished all my guitars up in 2018 to take these photographs, I gave the frets a really, really good polish. Now since then, a lot of those guitars have been to Andy Neville's guitar workshop for a proper setup, so they've been polished again. This one hasn't. This one is still sort of in the state that it was in, but like I say, I've hardly touched it. So apart from just gathering dust, which is literally what it's been doing, I suppose, so that the frets really shouldn't be that bad. Yeah, it's a shame I put those two new strings on, but I use a bit of GHS fast fret on those strings just to get rid of any oiliness, because I say that's not going to improve the playing experience. Right, okay. So I've wiped that off. I might have another wipe at it in a little bit, but while we're here, I will continue putting the strings on, starting with the G string. Yeah, so as I was saying before, I always leave a decent amount of slack on these thinner strings. So again, I turn the machine head until the hole is in line with the frets. I use my finger to just kink the string around the post, pull it tight with both hands and lock it over, and there's absolutely no way that string can shift. Right, now the D string is here. So I'll put the D string in. This one's got the black ball end. So again, I'm going to do the same with this. The D string, it's a bit more robust than the plain strings, but it's still prone to chafing, you know. So if there's any sharp edges on the edge of the holes in the machine head, they will chafe. So I'm going to just have a little bit more slack on that string so I can get at least a couple of windings on there. And that'll just protect the string from the edge of the hole. Okay. So we've got the last pair of D'Addario strings now. So the B and the thin E. So I'll try and unwind those without getting them tied up in knots. Okay, now the B is a purple ball end and the thin E is a silver one. So I'm going to keep the thin E on the floor now, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Matt tomorrow. It's been a while since I've seen him, and looking forward to having a bit of a jam with the lad, you know. Oops. Always make sure you turn it the right way. I always remember another story. The first day I had my first guitar, this was around about the around about the middle of May. in 1982. On the evening, I'd been playing it all afternoon, you know. So my dad took me to a shop called Bandbox in the morning, where I bought it from, and it was a K folk guitar, they called them. As I say, on the evening, I was tuning it up, and I ended up turning the wrong machine head. I remember thinking at the time, well, there's nothing happening. You know, I was tightening and tightening, and the string sounded the same. And then all of a sudden, another string broke. So I've been turning the wrong one. So always pay attention to which which machine head that you're turning, because yeah, I mean, obviously that was the first day I had my first guitar, so I wasn't exactly experienced. But I'll tell you what, you learn fast when that happens, because then I had to wait until Monday afternoon after school for my dad to sort of come home from work with a new string for me, and then put it on, you know, and just make damn sure I didn't do it again. Now, I can't remember much about the intervening period, but I imagine I probably still played something on that guitar, even though it had only got 5 strings. Cool. Now then, that fretboard conditioner is still kind of soaking in, so I'm not sure if I should play it. Should I play it? What do you think? I'm going to just use this cloth. Naturally, no, I'm going to keep that one for the polishing. Just use another part of this that I haven't already used. Just try and wipe off a little bit more. But yeah, I want to try and give you a bit of a demo of the normal pickups and also the acoustic pickup as well, because I think that'll be quite good if you haven't heard this kind of thing before. Okay. Right, so I'm going to plug it in. I've already got sounds set up, or a sound set up. Cool. So I'm going to just go into this. So there is a tuner. There is a tuner built into this thing. Now I always stretch my strings in, but I do them using string bends. I say, because I've only done one string at a time, the action hasn't changed, and I say there shouldn't be any string buzzes. So yeah, I mean that seems to be okay. So yeah, I haven't done much stretching in, but the guitar appears to be staying in tune, you know. So you put the strings on right, and everything just kind of works, you know. Yeah, this guitar literally does turn you into Slash. Okay, now I'm going to just mute the you know, the full-on distortion sound, and just give you a blast of the acoustic. Cool, so you get the gist. So I mean, that is not a normal electric sound. You can't make magnetic pickups sound like that, you know. It's they just don't. So these piezo pickups that I've got in the bridge, they work the same way that the pickup on an electroacoustic would work, you know. So it's like a pressure sensitive thing. Yeah, so it's really nice, you know. It's like I end up playing things that I wouldn't probably normally play, you know. But also we can always get back to familiar territory. Cool. So yeah, so here it is. This is my Slash signature Les Paul. If you've enjoyed this video, and why on earth wouldn't you, even though it's been an absolute car crash for me, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. Normal service will resume next week when I've got a little bit more time to throw something together that you might actually want to watch. No, seriously. I mean, hopefully, you know, the guitar is the star of this one. So, so yeah, I hope you've enjoyed meeting it, and yeah, who knows, you might see it again on a future video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.